Mr. BB.
Hey. All right, we are live in the D with Mr. BB. We are joined today by Mr. Clarence Williams, who is a filmmaker out in Los Angeles, California. Mr. Clarence Williams, the fourth, graduated with honors from the Johns Well Directing Program at Carnegie Mellon University. He's completed 3 feature films since graduating. His second feature, No Doubt, premiered at the 2018 Silicon Beach Film Festival. It's currently being distributed by Indie Flicks and Freakish Films, respectively. His last feature, My Friend Tucker, is being distributed by Indie Rights and premiered at the 2018 Gold State Film Festival. Lead actor Mitchell Edwards won the Best Actor for his performance in My Friend Tucker. Clarence was nominated for Best Director and Best Screenplay, respectively, by the Black and Latino Filmmakers Coalition, and he has produced other films including We Can't Breathe, His Pain, I Was Born a Good Girl, My Friend Tucker, and No Doubt. And he's joining us right here today on Live in the D with Mr. BB. How are you doing, Mr. Williams?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is a dope thing to be a part of.
Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate that. So you told it, we got at your bio and your school and your experience, but tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this thing? How did this become, and all these short films you've produced?
Wow. Well, so yeah, so I've been telling stories since I was about, I say 2 or 3 years old. So before I even knew how to write, I would tell stories to my parents, and they would just write down whatever I told them into like a little notepad. And when I finally got old enough to write myself, I would, get my own notebooks, my own notepads, and I would just write ideas, different scripts. Sometimes I would just write like my own ideas for movie posters, just all things related to film and stories. I kind of unloaded everything into hundreds and hundreds of notebooks.
Right.
So from there, when I was 10 years old, I made my first actual film. It was actually, I remember it very well. It was a film about the history of Georgia for a history class that I took when I was in the 5th grade.
Wow.
So I made that back then when I was 10 years old. So of course, looking back, actually, I don't even know what ended up happening to that movie. Might have got deleted or burned, or I don't know. But I do remember watching and playing that film for my, my teacher, my peers, my friends, and everyone was really just impressed. They were like, "Oh wow, Clarence, you wrote this and you directed this." And so, like, as I said, looking back as I was 10 when I made it, so it probably wasn't that great, but just the fact that I was passionate about something and I had a lot of people that were just impressed that I set out to do something and I followed through, that really it left a big impact on me. And from there, I decided, I want to keep doing this. I want to tell stories. I want to be a filmmaker. And from there, 17 years later, I'm actually still doing it and still very excited to kind of grow and learn as a filmmaker. I went to Carnegie Mellon, which is mainly a theater school, but I think it really taught me a lot about working with actors and articulating my vision to people. Because, as a director, it's your job to really make sure you communicate with your cast, with your crew, and just so everyone's on the same page.
Right.
And so I really took what I learned in college, and I've applied that to the films I made while in college, but also outside of college. So my goal is honestly just to keep on making films, keep getting better, and just hopefully making a name for myself as a filmmaker.
Okay. And that's a fantastic goal. I like that, and I like your passion for it. You sound, just hearing you listen to you talk right now, you sound very passionate, and like that says that it's very important to you. So
Absolutely.
appreciate that. Now, you said that you produced your first film at 10 years old, and
Yes.
now 17 years later, you're still working as a filmmaker. So that only makes you 27.
Yes, it
And
does.
you produced well over three feature films, as well as some short films and some other projects. Now, what
Yes, indeed.
what kind of response do you get from people when you say, "Hey, I'm a filmmaker," and they're like, "Okay, you're a filmmaker," and then they may be expecting something like, "Okay, you're one of those YouTubers or something," and you tell them, "No, I have feature films on Amazon." What kind of response do you get? You tell them you're 27 and you're a filmmaker and you're actually like a real filmmaker, so to speak. as the, as it goes.
Right. I know, absolutely. Well, I think for me, it's I get like it's kind of a mixed response. So I feel like some people, when I tell them I'm a filmmaker, they think like, oh wow, so you work in Hollywood and you're directing, you make movies for Netflix and Marvel and stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm not on that level just yet. But
Right.
but then on the reverse, then there's people that are just like, oh, so you like make little movies and like little plays and stuff. So it's like I feel like either they think like a hugely successful director, or they think like I haven't done anything and I just do kind of like little rinky dink stuff. There's no like middle ground, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing that kind of frustrates me a little bit. It's like I'm not like I'm no I'm not like a Spike Lee or anything like that, but I am for my age and for what I'm doing. I think I'm in a pretty good place in my career. I've done quite a bit of stuff. I've been in film festivals. My work has won awards. I've been, I've had meetings with, important people, and I've been up for like, important projects and shows and stuff like that. But I think the important takeaway is that I'm an indie level filmmaker, but I try
Right.
to be, I like to think of myself as prolific. So my
Mm-hmm.
goal is like, whenever I can, I want to get out there and write, direct, edit, because I do it all. My own film projects. So that's kind of what, so yeah, so it is a little frustrating sometimes to the people that aren't really familiar with what it means to be an independent filmmaker. It's like you're not like a Steven Spielberg, but you are also, you are
Right.
doing, the best you can out here and trying to, try to make a name for yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. You got to start somewhere, and you've well
Exactly.
started well. Again, 10 years old, and now 3 feature films plus YouTube films, and you didn't put this in your bio, but I saw it, and I actually watched the whole short series in a day. You have a short series on Amazon called No Doubt, and I believe that was by you, Clarence Williams. On
Yes.
yep.
Oh, so
So you have a
it's called,
short
well, actually,
film.
so no doubt. Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
I think it was called No Doubt. Let me pull it up. But go ahead. You was gonna
I
tell me
think you
about
might
it.
be talking about Not How It Goes.
Not How It Goes. I'm sorry. Yeah, No Doubt is the movie. Not How It Goes is the short series you have, and they're actually really good. They're only about 3 to 5 minute episodes each one, so you can
Mm-hmm.
get through them rather quickly. But they're captivating, they're interesting, and they remind me kind of the movie No String Attached. And whatnot. Give me that feel. It's like, okay, will they, won't they, and what's gonna happen?
Exactly.
And I was wondering, it's like, I wonder if a season 2 is gonna come out, and what's going on with that. So yeah,
So
you definitely
that, yeah, so
have
that's
captivated as a storyteller.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. So actually, Not How It Goes, that was a series. So I actually co-created that show with my wife.
Okay.
She's also a writer, producer, and actually the idea for the web series was actually based on an idea that she had. So we
Mm-hmm.
kind of came together and we're like, you know what? I think we should do something that kind of covers the whole friends with benefits scenario, but do it with like an all black cast. Because I feel like a lot of times there's not enough projects that feature black people in prominent roles that's also relatable, or that can connect to like the whole audience. I feel like
Right.
a lot of times a lot of projects with black leads, it gets grouped into being like a black film, and then
Mm-hmm.
from there people think like, oh, I can't relate to that because I'm not black. But it's like, you don't need, you can have a black lead actor and an all black cast, and the themes of the show or the movie can still be relatable. So that's what we
Exactly.
really wanted to do with this. Like, if you watch Not How It Goes, yes, it's an all black cast, but everyone can relate to these situations. Everyone's had experience, heartbreaks, falling in love, kind of being in weird scenarios with someone you like and not really knowing how to go about handling that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like the real, that's really what we wanted to capture. We wanted to just do like an honest depiction of, millennials. So it doesn't
Right.
matter that they're black, but it's millennials kind of going through romance pretty much.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm definitely glad. I appreciate that you watched that. Thank you so much. We actually are, I can't give away too much, but we are working on a little something, a little spinoff, a little something with the Not How It Goes characters. So, this, with this lockdown, it's kind of
Right.
messed up a lot of plans, but we are still gonna push through and do a little something. I'm not gonna tell you
Okay.
everything right now,
Right,
but
right. You can't give it away.
yeah,
You can't give it away. But we're
right,
looking
right,
forward to.
right.
We'll be looking for it. So with that, Not How It Goes, No Doubt. Again, you got a number of different feature films and projects. What is your? And you said you do everything. You direct, you film, you edit. What's your process? Like, how do you start a project, start to finish? How do you film? How does that go for you?
So usually what I do, I like to, so I start off with an idea. Sometimes people will approach me for, so I did a film called His Pain, a short film. That was actually an idea that came from the lead actor in that film. His name is Kent Davis. He kind of came to me with an idea, like, I want to do something about a guy who's being abused emotionally and physically by his wife, because, you know, domestic violence affects everyone. There's no such thing as like reverse domestic violence. It's you know, just domestic violence. Men are victims just as much as women. So I wanted to do a story about that, because it's like, you know, you don't see that too often, but it's out there, it happens. So for a project like that, he kind of came to me with the idea, and then from there I developed it. I came up with the characters. I turned it into a script. But then, for example, a movie like No Doubt, which was my second feature film, that was an idea that I came up with because I was thinking, you know, I want to do something about, you know, kind of being like a millennial and the whole dating scene when you're a millennial. And I feel like a lot of people, online dating is very popular. You know, it's a lot of people in our generation, that's how, you know, people find love. So I wanted to do a story about that because it's relatable. So something like that, I was able to I came up with that idea, turned it into a script. So a lot of times I usually am hit very strongly with an idea, no matter like what the genre is, whether it's like a comedy, drama, horror. And from there, I turn it into a script. And, you know, as I said before, I am an indie filmmaker on an indie level. So I think of what can be made, you know, for as little as possible. So, you know, I don't have money to do like a, you know, knockdown Marvel, you know, superhero, James Bond type movie. But I do have the resources to do kind of an intimate, you know, small scale, like character drama or character comedy, because I'm really big into characters. So a lot of my work is dialogue driven, it's character driven, because for me personally, that captivates me. Like some of my favorite movies, they're all character driven, they're all dialogue driven, and because I think those are the movies that really stick with you. I think a character drama will stick with you more than, you know, a big blockbuster action spectacle. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Because as with the again, the Marvel movies and the James Bond movies, it's like it's action packed, it's everything, and you explain this. Someone can sit there and explain the scenes to you, but maybe one or two, but you're not gonna really remember the lines and the dialogue that went on in the James Bond film or an Avengers film. You'll be able to quote one or two cool, you know, lines, but in the more character drawn ones, like Not How It Goes and those comedies and romantic, you know, more intimate ones, is okay. This character did this, and someone will literally watch one episode and be able to tell the whole story. And so I understand definitely what you're saying there. It's like really draw those characters out and pull them out, and that challenges, I'm sure, your actors as well to dive deeper and, you know, build themselves up and build their craft.
100%. It's all about, because a lot of times some of like the actors I work with, they kind of crack jokes because like, oh, we're about to do a Clarence thing. We know it's gonna be a lot of dialogue. Like we gotta get, you know, gotta get ready. So it's like a little joke I have. But I really, and also I think it goes back to me going to a drama school. That's really helped me like work with actors and you really get my ideas across, or the things I want to do or things I want to convey on screen. I feel like my education has really prepared me for that. So I think going to a theater school also kind of shaped my love of you know, of kind of like character pieces and smaller scale projects. So that's always been the stuff that's spoken to me. So that's why I'm glad I can make these type of movies. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Definitely. And then one movie that I saw, the first project that I saw, and the main reason I wanted to contact you, because I thought it was just an important conversation, a current conversation, and one that needs to be had again and again till we resolve this issue. So can you tell us a bit about your film, We Can't Breathe?
Absolutely. Well, firstly, thanks again for watching it. So We Can't Breathe was, so when I was 18 years old, I was walking home from the drugstore, and you know I'm originally from Maplewood, New Jersey. So I went to my home in Maplewood, New Jersey. Like this was the house I grew up in. You know, I was raised in this house. I've lived there all my life. I went into my house, literally took the key out, entered my home the way I would normally do. And about 10, 15 minutes later, there's like a banging on my door. And I like look out the window, and I see it's like 5 police officers, and they're just like banging like ferociously on the door. I'm like, well, you know, what's going on? So I called my parents. I called my dad. My dad told me, you know, open the doors, but be cautious. My mom told me don't open the door at all. But, you know, I was worried they were going to end up kicking the door in or doing
Right.
something. So I opened the door and I'm just like, yes. And they're like, you live here? And I'm like, yeah, I've lived here all my life. They're like, okay. Because we just got a call that there was a young black man who was breaking into houses and you matched the description. And I'm just like, here we go again. So
Right.
luckily that situation, clearly I'm still here. So it didn't escalate for the worst, but it could have. And
Right.
they had their guns out and everything. And I'm just like, I literally entered my own home and this is the response. So that situation, I never really shared that with too many people, but it's always been in the back of my head. So then, when the Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown and just all of these, Sandra Bland, all these names, like it's just like a list of all these people that have been murdered, at the hands of the police. And then of course, George Floyd, what happened recently, I think that was the breaking point for me. And I was just like, I got to do this. Because up until then, I hadn't really done any films about racism or about like fully about race. I did like a little project when I was 15, but nothing like as heavy as We Can't Breathe. So
Right.
I think what happened with George Floyd, it just really set me off. And then Breonna Taylor and just all these things, it really just upset me. And I was like, you know what? I got to do this. I think like what better way to get your frustration out than to, do it creatively. Right. So I literally sat down 45 minutes, came up with the, wrote the script in about 45 minutes because I was just so fired up and really, because I also too, it's like just, and I'm sure you've seen it too on Facebook, people are, Black Lives Matter. We're like, it should be all lives matter. And it's like, you don't understand. Like, exactly. Yes, nobody's saying all lives don't matter, but all lives aren't at risk. And that's a line that is in my actual film. It's like, people aren't understanding, the difference between Black Lives Matter and all lives matter. It's like, until Black Lives Matter,
all lives can't matter. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So all of this was going through my head when I wrote that script. I wrote that, I feel like in the beginning of June, and then 2 weeks later we were filming it. Everybody was, and of course we shot this during, of course, the this COVID pandemic. So we had, masks, hand sanitizer, social distance. It was a very small crew. We were very concerned about making sure everyone was safe. We were, yes, it's important to get this film made, but safety first, health first. So we were very cautious, but luckily I had a great team behind me. We shot the film in one day. We took about, I think maybe like 8 hours. We shot everything about 8-9 hours, and I did the editing, just released it. So we actually have gotten into, so far we've gotten into 2 film festivals. Well, we've submitted to a whole bunch. So I'm hoping we can get into some more. But I think this is like my most personal film because it deals with stuff that's, very close to home. Me being a, a Black man, not just a filmmaker, but I'm a Black man too. And it's like, I feel, when I hear about these victims dying, and I'm sure same thing, you feel this as well. Like that could be us.
Right.
And I feel like that's the scary part. So I definitely wanted to just get this out there and spark a dialogue. And so far, the reception has been, very strong. People really appreciate what we created. So I'm very excited about that.
Right. And the part that I like about the film, without giving too much away, is the privilege that has to be checked sometimes, even with our own, because the 2 people are having a conversation, and the one person that has to check the other is like, no, you don't understand this because your background is you're protected by the badge. We're not so much, and sometimes we're just minding our own business. Like you say, you're going into your own home, and Mr. Arby was just walking around his neighborhood, and Trayvon Martin was just coming back from the store. So
exactly.
So yeah, that film is definitely something I think everyone should check out. And again, a conversation that needs to keep being had until it's resolved.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. So with that, what other projects, if any, social projects especially, are there that we can look forward to?
So right now I do have, but the as a lot of filmmakers will understand, like it's hard to really say for sure because sometimes a lot of things in the film is up in the air. So you could say like, oh, I'm shooting this project, but then something might happen, you might lose the finances, and it's like, So at the moment, I do have a few things in the works, but just at this, it's in a very early stage, so I
Mm-hmm.
can't say too much. But what I
Okay.
will say is I have during this, this lockdown and everything, I've been banging out a lot of different scripts, different genres, some comedy, drama, romance. So, I've also been just in the process of getting it out to different producers and different companies just to see, what's happening with that. But one thing that has happened to me, fortunately, is one of my scripts has been optioned by a production company. So, and usually what an option is they kind of, they give you an amount of money and they kind of hold on to your script with the intention to get it produced. So, of course, when the option, it doesn't mean the film is 100% getting made, but it means there's a company that is interested in trying to get it made. So that's what I have going on right now. Like the biggest thing at the moment, I wrote a horror script, and there's a company right now that has optioned that. So hopefully all goes well, and they will end up actually producing it, turning it into an actual film. And then, but aside from that, yes, I do have a few things that I mentioned before that we are planning, hopefully trying to get shot, but just I don't want to jinx it as of now. Just I don't want to tell you like yes what this is about, just in case it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. But I'll definitely send you a link though. If we do everything goes well and we shoot it, I'll definitely be sending it to you. So don't even worry.
All right. Well, congratulations on even getting this far, not only in your career, but with that being optioned, so that way it can be produced by, and your vision can get out there even further. So congratulations on that much, on that for happening. What's like and of course you're going to grow as a director. So what might be today might not be the same 3 years from now, 5 years from now, a week from now. As a creative, that's just how it happens. But right now, what's like the ultimate film you like to create, or you like to create yourself?
So I guess for me, so there isn't like one in particular. Well, I think there isn't one genre or one story that I want to tell like more than anything. But what I do want to do is kind of what I mentioned before with Not How It Goes. I want to create more projects where the lead actor is black man, black woman, it's a black person that everyone can relate to. So like if you, I'm sure you're familiar with Jordan Peele and his work. So like a movie like Us, that's about a black family, but it made so much money and it got such praise because everyone can relate to it. Like white families, Asian families, Hispanic families, everyone can relate to the struggle of just wanting to get away from these these villains and protecting your family. So I want to do more stories that are another filmmaker that I like Kevin Smith and like John Hughes, guys like that. And a lot of their films are so popular because they resonate with people. But I want to create something that has like a black cast, a diverse cast, a cast of people of color, that all races, that everyone can watch and come back to and be like, that movie really spoke to me. Those characters really spoke to me. So I think for me, I just want to beat, I don't want white to be the norm anymore. So I feel like white has been the norm for so long. I feel like now, I think a black person should be norm. An Asian person should be norm. A Hispanic person should be the norm. It shouldn't always just be a white person. You know what I'm saying?
All inclusive. Everybody should be represented.
Exactly. So I feel like there shouldn't be one race that's, that's like the token for the everyman. And I think any race should be able to be the everyman. So my work, that's what I'm doing. Like you'll see, as you've seen too, a lot of my projects, or not even a lot, all of my projects star black people or star people of color. And that's what I'm going to continue to do, because if I don't, who will? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, gotta represent.
Yep. Gotta represent and gotta get it started, so that way you can be that change that you want to see in the world. So I commend you for that. So thank you. Real quick, if you can think of just five, if not, you can give a couple more of your favorite top filmmakers that give you inspiration, or that you just like there and really appreciate their work. I know you said John Hughes, Kevin Smith. You can give us a few more.
Oh, that's, well, see, the funny thing is John Hughes isn't even like one of my favorites. He just, I just like I like his work, but my top is Spike Lee. We got Tarantino, John Singleton, Kevin Smith, and okay, so the fifth one is kind of a toss-up because I really like Ryan Coogler. I really like, and he hasn't even made that many movies, but he just had his career is just crazy. The films he's made have been really powerful. But it's like, so Ryan Coogler and another filmmaker named Richard Linklater. So he did Dazed and Confused, the Before trilogy. He's done a lot of movies, but his work also really speaks to me because he's very big on putting character and story over plot.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of his movies are not plot driven, but they are dialogue driven, they're character driven, and a lot of these his subject matter is relatable. So like all those filmmakers, they all have definitely had a pretty big influence on my own work. A lot of my projects, as I've said before, is very much it's not really plot heavy, but it definitely is, you know, heavy on just characterizations and dialogue and really getting to know, or pretty much like slice of life projects. So I really, you know, I really love those types of films.
Okay. All right. When I've talked to different producers and directors in different industries, music, radio, and they said sometimes what happens when you find out where the milk comes from, you don't respect it as much, and it's like, okay, it's not as cool once you know how it's done. So has with you now producing films, directing films, writing and shooting, editing your own films, has that ruined some of your viewership to some films that you used to just adore when you were younger, or even going to see new films now? How does that affect you once you preferably know how the sausage is made?
Right. That's a very good question. I think so funny enough, I mean, even you know, I've made a bunch of movies, and I'm still like a student myself. I still like am learning all the time. So there's still stuff that I see in movies, mostly like action movies. I'm still like, how did they do that? You know, and I'm a guy, like, I watch the behind the scenes footage, listen to director commentary, but there's still stuff, especially like with like Marvel movies, there's just things, or just action movies in general. I'm just like, how did they do that? Like, I'm like, what? But so I think for me though, I'm able to watch a movie with multiple hats on at the same time. So I can watch it just as an audience member, but I can also watch it and like study, you know, the dialogue, how it was written, or the performances, or how, you know, the different shots used. So I have a whole bunch of wheels turning as I watch a film. But I think for me, now that I'm older and stuff, I think I'm more critical of dialogue, because I guess with me, like, dialogue is so important to me in my own work. I single out dialogue when I watch movies, and I can tell, like, if I hear something that's like a cliche line, or that doesn't sound realistic, that I really notice. So there are some movies I've watched now that I used to love, and I'm like, oh, the dialogue was not good. Right. But then at the same time, there's movies I watch and I'm like, oh, that dialogue is so good. Like, I want to write like that. Like, it makes me, the sign for me, if there's a movie that has good dialogue, it makes me want to go write myself. You know what I mean? It makes me just want to start writing. Kind of, I guess, like how a basketball player, you watch, somebody that's really good at basketball, it makes you want to just hop on a court and start playing. Like, that's how it is with dialogue. If I hear a movie with like really good dialogue, it just gets me like, oh, I got to start writing now. I want to get started on my next script. So that's kind of how I operate.
I understand that. As an author, I see that a lot. It's like sometimes you just read a story and then you're like, man, I want to write some things myself now, and I want to, see what I can do with a similar story. I don't want to tell the exact same story, but see what I could take that, and it sometimes amazes you what ideas will come to you after you see something. Then you start writing, and then the process you go to. So yeah, I definitely
I can relate that. Exactly.
Yep. All right, Mr. Williams, I won't hold you too much longer. If definitely not wishing you off though, but how can we keep up with you? Social media, websites, any ways to contact you that you want to share with us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I actually have my production company, Williams 4 Productions. We have a Facebook page. So we have some clips, little information about the company. So that can be found on Facebook. It's called Williams, because my last name is Williams, and the number 4 Productions, because I'm, Clarence Williams the 4th. And also, I can also be followed on Instagram. My name is C the 4. So the letter C, and then THE, and then number 4.
Okay.
I'm also have a YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is just called Clarence Williams. So most likely if you type in Clarence Williams the 4th, you should see my page. So I have a lot of my, clips, trailers, some shorts that I've done, some stuff there as well. I also have work available on Amazon Prime.
Right.
Once again, you can just type in Clarence Williams the 4th, and you should be able to see my projects there as well. I'm also on IMDb. Yeah, so I'm out there. So feel free to reach out, check out my work. And hopefully you like what you see, and hopefully you can spread the word.
All right. Yes, sir. We'll be doing that. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we let you go?
So all I can really say is, it's been great talking to you. I appreciate this opportunity, and definitely just happy for this experience.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Once again, can you tell everyone who you are, where you're joining us from, and what they're watching?
Yes, my name is Clarence Williams IV. I am from Los Angeles, California, and you are watching Live in the D with Mr. BB.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
All right. That's it.
This week's quote on Live in the D with Mr. BB is, "Never, ever be afraid to make some good noise and get in good trouble. Necessary trouble." John Lewis.
Live.
You are live in the D with Mr. BB.
Mr. BB.
With Mr. BB.
Hey.